provision of the Constitution of India with regard to the state of Jammu Kashmir is correct. Prior to abrogation of Article 370. India regard to state. That principle of state policy. Yeah. Every apply. Article 35 gives some special rights to the permanent resident of the state with regard to employment, settlement, and property. Permanent resident of the state with regard to employment, settlement, and property. Article 19(1) has been omitted. Article 360 is not applicable for the amendment in the Constitution of the state. Apply. Apply everything. The following statement. Fifth schedule of the Constitution of India is correct. Fifth schedule scheduled state. In relation to special provision for administration of certain areas. State other than Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Other state. Special provision for administration of certain areas. In the state other than Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Tribal Advisory Council are to be constituted to get advice under the fifth schedule. Tribal Advisory Council are to be constituted to give advice under the fifth schedule. Tribal Advisory Council are to be constituted. Fifth schedule. Give advice under fifth schedule. Tribal Advisory Council are to be constituted. Advisory Council to be constituted. The governor of the state in which there are scheduled areas have to be submit report to the president. Governor of a state in which there are scheduled areas have to submit reports to the president regarding the administration of such areas. Scheduled areas have to submit report to president. 11th schedule of the Constitution of India shall distribute power between the scheduled state legislature of the Panchayat. 11th schedule state legislature of the Panchayat. Which of the following articles of the Constitution of India lays down that no citizen can be denied the uses of oil, dams, and bathing ghat maintained out of state funds. Lays down that no citizen can be denied the use of oil, tank, or state. Article 15. Right to discrimination. No person shall be denied to use of a tank or and a pound of oil ghat. Which among the following statement is correct? Socialist the preamble. Socialist the preamble. Able to court to reduce inequality of income and status. 23. Radical socialism. India is a radical socialism. Following is not character of a secular state. A state in order to be secular must be democratic. Indian Council Act 1892. Introduction of the principle of election. Indian Council Act 1892. Introduction of principle of election. The Indian Council Act 1909. Introduction of separate electorate for the Muslim. Indian Council Act 1992. Introduction of principle of election. Government of India 1999. 1999. Dyarchy province. Government of India 1935. Provincial autonomy. Introduction of a provincial autonomy. Establishment of a board of control. British India Act 1784. Establishment of Supreme Court. Regulating Act 773. Establishment of Board of Control, Peace India Act 1784. Christian missionaries were allowed to spread their religion in India. Charter Act 1813. Spread the religion. Governor General of Bengal as Governor General of India. Charter Act 1833. Who among the following motion of a secret sitting session of the Assembly 1942 moved to the motion of secret sitting? MS Anning. Provision of which of the following articles of the Constitution of India apply to the state of Jammu Kashmir? 70. Constitution of India apply. Which of the following not a feature of central elections? Centralization, national unity, uniformity, prosperity, liberty, not liberty is centralization. Which among the following advisor to the constituents? Bin Rao, advisor. Advisor to the Constituent Assembly. The federation of which of the following state has been described as an indestructible union of indestructible state? USA. Indestructible union of USA. Indestructible union be destructing a state. Constitution of India Republican because it. No hereditary element. State of head of the state in hereditary. Which of the following forms of constitution contains the features of both the unitary and federal? Quasi-federal. Contains the features of both unitary and federal constitution. Unitary and federal constitution. Quasi-federal. Quasi-federal. In the SR Bombay was Union of India case, which one of the following features Constitution of India was upheld by the Supreme Court as a basic structure. SR Bombay. Secularism. SR Bommai, secularism. Features of the Constitution in India was upheld by the Supreme Court. Secularism. The instrument of instruction contained in the Government of India Act 1935 of India in the year 1950 as the instrument of instruction contained in the Government of India Act. Directive principle of state policy. The instrument of instruction contained in the Government of India 1935 has been 50. Directive principle of state policy. Government of India Act instrument of instructions incorporated in the Constitution of India in the year 1950. Following determine the Indian Constitution federal power between the central state. There are different arguments given in favor of power sharing in a democratic political system. To reduce the conflict among the different communities. Arguments given in favor of power sharing in the democratic political system. Since all are affected by the policies of the government, they should be consulted in the governance of the country. It speeds up the decision making process and improves the chances of unity of country. All the policies of the government affected by considered governance. Following distinguish factor between a pressure group and a political. Pressure group don't seek active political power. Political parties do. Pressure group don't seek political power. Active political power. Which one of the following articles of the Constitution of India deals with the special provision with respect to Constitution of Assam? Special provision with respect to State of Assam. Article 371B. Special provision with respect to State of Assam. 371B special provision. Article 371B special provision. Assam. Following stated in the Constitutional Assembly that 26 January 1950 India was going to enter a life of contradictions. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. India was going to enter a life of contradictions. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. India was going to life of a contradiction. Who is he? Actually, constitutional development. Consider the following statement about the Government of India Act 1935. Provide for provincial autonomy, establishment of federal court, all India federation at the center. Which of the following is not correct about the Indian Independence Act 1947? Correct means Bill for the Independence Act was introduced in Parliament on 4 July and received the royal assent in 18th July 1947. Parliament on 4 July received 18 July. Bill of Indian Independence Act. The Act provided for the establishment of two independent dominions to be known as India and Pakistan. The Act provided for the establishment of two independent dominions to be known as India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan empower the Constitutional Assembly dominion to have unlimited power, framed and adopt any constitutions. Government of India Act 1919. Government of 1919 dyarchy. 1935 provincial autonomy. Parliamento separate authority. Mountbatten plan. Cabinet mission plan. Mountbatten plan. Cabinet mission plan. Charter Act 1835 abolished East India Company monopoly of Indian trade. 1853 Charter 1853 abolished East India Company monopoly. No. 1813 under the Government of India Act 1850 1850 the British Parliament abolished the East India Company altogether and undertook the responsibility of ruling India indirectly. British Parliament abolished the East India Company altogether, undertook the responsibility of ruling undertook the responsibility of ruling India directly. Which following are among the provision for Act of 1858? The administration of the India and the Indian territories was transferred to the Crown. Territories was transferred to Crown. East India Company was abolished. Was abolished. And the Governor General of India was known as the Viceroy of India, and the Secretary of State for India was also appointed. And the Secretary of the State. The administration of India and the Indian territories was transferred to the Crown. East India Company was abolished. East India Company, 1858. The Government of India Act 1919 introduced dyarchy in the provincial executive. Provincial executive introduced a federal system of government in India. No. Introduced a dyarchy in provincial executive. Established bicameral legislature at the center. Central bicameral legislature introduced a dyarchy in the provincial executive. Dyarchy. Dyarchy means state revenue and the law and order with the BTC and which one of the following statement about the government of India of 1919 correct extend the practice of communal representation and it also known as the Montagu for defense paved the way for federalism by clearly separating the responsibility of the center and the province. Clearly separating the responsibility, state and the center. It, is, it also paved the way for the federalism. Which are the following? Which are the following? British officials was elevated to the position of Governor General after the regulating of 1773. Warren Hastings. So the following are reserved seats for women in legislature in accordance with the allocation of seats for different communities. The Government of India 1935 women following act reserved for seat of women in legislature in accordance with the allocation of seats for different communities. Reserved seat for the different communities and also as well as for women. Creation of a federal court in India was advocated by which of the following act? Creation of a federal court in India was advocated. The Government of India 1935. Which of the following law have been repealed by the Constitution of India? The Government of India 1935, Indian Independence Act 1947, and Preventive Detention Act 1950. Preventive Detention Act. Laws have been repealed by the Constitution of India. Who law repealed by? Indian Independence Act 1947, Preventive Detention Act, D 1 to 4. Preventive Detention Act, Indian Independence Act 1947, Government of India Act 1935.